Hi, good morning. My name is Jose Miranda Velasquez. This is for BSN 206-14. This is my remediation video for my Foley catheter. Okay, I'm going to need a few supplies, some hand sanitizer, pair of gloves, two washcloths, my Foley catheter kit, and a trash bag. You want to mention my Foley catheter kit has been opened, it's been used. Um, I've been using it to practice as well as used it in the previous video. So there's a few things in there that are already open. In the real perfect world, they would be nice and sealed. The kit would not be opened itself. I wanted to point out that I got nothing on my hands, got my Nightingale badge and my Nightingale scrubs. We're going to go ahead and get started. So once I'm comfortable that I've gathered my supplies, I'd grab everything and make my way towards the patient's room. I would knock on the door, knock, knock. I would let myself in, close the door behind me or the curtain to ensure patient privacy. If I can't perform hand hygiene while introducing myself and placing my things down on a clean, flat, dry surface. Okay, so place my things down, perform the hand hygiene, and introduce myself to the patient. Hi, good morning. My name is Jose. I'm one of the nurses here. Can I have you state your name, your date of birth, and your medical record number, if you know it? If the patient stated all three, I would cross reference to the patient's wristband. All right, it all matches. Hi, good morning, Mrs. Miranda. Like I mentioned, my name is Jose. I'm one of the nurses here. They sent me in to insert a catheter into your bladder. This is called a Foley catheter. Okay. The doctor ordered it, so well, I can explain everything as we proceed. But if it's okay with you, you would go ahead and insert the catheter. So what it is, it's a catheter that goes into your bladder to drain the urine. Okay. Any questions for me? No? Okay. I will also be explaining a few things along the way, but I will explain a few things right now before we get started. So we're going to be performing four things today. We're going to be cleaning the area below the waistline. We're going to go ahead and inspect the area below the waistline. We're going to clean again for the second time. And then we're going to go ahead and perform and insert the catheter into the bladder. Okay, Mrs. Miranda, any questions? No? Okay. At any point it may becomes too painful or unbearable, please let me know. Okay? And then I wanted to point out and mention two things. Please do not reach for anything. Please try your best not to move. Okay? Perfect. Thank you, Mrs. Miranda. We're going to go ahead and get started. I would go ahead and lay Mrs. Miranda down. The head of the bed would go down. Um, I try to raise the gurney if I need to where I'm comfortable. It's comfortable for me. I'd go ahead and have Miss Miranda lift her hips, lift her gown up, spread her feet open, and then go from there. Proceed from there. During the whole time, I want to make sure Mrs. Miranda is okay with this. She's giving consent right from the beginning, but as well as she's comfortable throughout the whole process as well. So I want to periodically check on Mrs. Miranda and make sure she's okay. All right, so I would go ahead and get started. Take my trash bag, place that next to my patient, so I can just discard whatever I'm using. Just place it in my trash bag without having to reach over my sterile field. So at this point, I would go ahead and perform hand hygiene as well. I'd go ahead and don my clean pair of gloves here. And I would go ahead and start. I would lift the gown up, take my washcloth here, which this should already ideally have um, non-rinse soap. If it does not, we would want to have warm soap and water or whatever cleaning solution the doctor has ordered. Ideally, with the no rinse soap, we could just go ahead and clean and then proceed with the procedure. Okay, I want to clean the area furthest away from me first, top to bottom, the area closest to me, top to bottom, and then down the middle, top to bottom, using each time a different portion of the washcloth. Okay, here we go. Mrs. Miranda, we're going to go ahead and proceed, okay? So place my right hand, which is going to be my non dominant hand, I'm going to be cleaning with my dominant hand. Place my non-dominant hand to a position of comfort. Clean top to bottom. Mrs. Miranda, you're going to be feeling my hand right below the waistline here, okay? Here we go. Top to bottom on the outside. Take a different portion of the washcloth. Top to bottom on the inside. Take a different portion of the washcloth. And then clean down the middle. All right. Go ahead and discard that in my trash bag. Then I'm going to go ahead and take my dry washcloth and pat dry my patient down to ensure that she's dry. So I'm going to pat dry. Mrs. Miranda, you doing okay? Yeah? Okay. So I'm checking on my patient. I'm going to discard this second washcloth that I used to dry. Once Mrs. Miranda is clean, I can visualize everything below the waistline a little better. I would locate the urinary meatus, which I have. I want to look and inspect any cause for concern, anything that might seem abnormal, anything that might seem out of the ordinary, anything that might look, or be unusual for the circumstance in this case. All right. So I've located the urinary meatus. Um, Once that is done, I will go ahead and take my gloves off here, discard those in my trash bag. I perform hand hygiene and talk to my patient once again and let her know, hey, this portion here is where the catheter is coming in. Okay, Mrs. Miranda, you're doing okay? Yeah, okay. So we're gonna go ahead and insert the Foley catheter portion from this point on, okay? All right. So for this portion, I take my catheter, I take it out of the packaging here, discard this in my garbage can. I would go ahead and place this down. I want to make sure I'm comfortable with my area here. I want to make sure that I am not, cramming myself up, but I have enough space. It's clean, nice, and dry, and then I can continue with my video here. Pardon with my procedure. So first things first, I've already performed hand hygiene. If I haven't, I would do it again. Once I have my sterile field, though, I want to avoid reaching over Mrs. Miranda, reaching over my sterile field here. So perform hand hygiene. I would go ahead and move this around to this side, and I would go ahead and open each side using only one hand, preferably the two-finger method, and avoid touching anything within or inside the kit. So I'll go ahead and just touch the outside flaps and open outward. I think I'm not within frame here. I want to touch only the outside here. Avoid touching anything on the inside to avoid having that sterile field being broken. Okay? Once my Foley catheter has been opened and exposed, I would go ahead and look for my sterile gloves. I have found them using my two-finger method as well. Go ahead and reach for them, grabbing them and removing them out of the kit. I would place them down in an area to where I could comfortably put them on. All right, I will go ahead and do so now. We'll open that using only the exterior portion of my flaps to touch and open my kit, my glove kit in this case. Using my three-finger pinch method, I'm going to go ahead and don my dominant hand first. I will go ahead and pick up my glove. Then I'm going to scoop my secondary glove. Using the outside, I'm going to fix this flap here. We're part of touching only the inside. Well, touching only the outside of the glove, not touching the inside. All right, I am sterile. Lock my fingers. Touching the inside portion, I can discard this. Ideally, it would want to go into my garbage can. But I don't want to contaminate my sterile field here, so if I can scoot it out of the way, that'd be ideal. If not, that works too. It's not perfect, but it works. At this point, I can touch the inside of my kit. I will go ahead and arrange my kit as necessary here. I will go ahead and place this, make some uh, adjustments here. I would take my sterile field here, open it up, place it under Mrs. Miranda without touching or contaminating my sterile field here. I will check on Mrs. Miranda. Are you okay? Perfect. I will go ahead and then take my drape, place my drape over Mrs. Miranda. All right, for this portion, I can go ahead and manipulate the Foley catheter kit itself on the inside here. I will go ahead and take this portion, move it to the side. Go ahead and flip that. I would take my alcohol swabs, tear open my packaging. Of course, it's already been opened. I will remove those from the packaging. I want to place this in my garbage can. I will then go ahead and remove this portion of the catheter, take the film off of the catheter itself. Nice and slowly. Place that down. Discard this in my garbage bag. I would take my lube, go ahead and turn my lube open, and squeeze that out into an area within the kit itself. Once that's already been opened up, I will go ahead and take my lube packaging, discard that. And during the whole time, I want to avoid contaminating or going over my sterile field here. Okay, then I'm going to take my syringe, take the cap off, place that over, and connect that. All right, Mrs. Miranda, we're set up. We're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, you're gonna feel my hands once again touching you. Okay, I'm gonna take my first swab. I'm gonna go ahead and before I get started in touching, I'm gonna go ahead and use one hand for one thing, one hand for the other. So at this point, my right non-dominant hand is gonna be touching Mrs. Miranda, and it is not to leave Mrs. Miranda here at all points. I'm gonna be using my left hand, my dominant hand, to do the whole procedure. Okay, I would take my first swab. I will go ahead and clean top to bottom, the outside portion down first. Take the dirty swab without contaminating anything. Discarding that in my trash bag here. Then I'm going to take my second swab, clean from top to bottom. Discard that in my trash bag here. And then I'm going to take my third swab, clean down the middle. I'll go ahead and discard that in my trash bag as well. Okay? How you doing, Mrs. Miranda? Good? Okay. At this point, I would go ahead and proceed and let Mrs. Miranda know that we're going to be inserting the catheter. Mrs. Miranda, we're going to insert the catheter, okay? I would go ahead and take the tip, put it in lube, roll it around, and go ahead and insert. Locate the urinary meatus, and go ahead and proceed. I would advance. I have urinary flash. Once I have seen the urinary flash that I have seen urine come out. I would go ahead and proceed and advance an additional 2 inches without touching Mrs. Miranda. Now at here, I can go ahead and change my positioning, take my non-dominant hand, clamp here and hold down while I inflate my cuff or the balloon for this case. All right, that's inflated. Disconnect that. Discard my syringe in my trash bag. Check on Mrs. Miranda. Mrs. Miranda, are you okay? Okay, perfect. So at this point, my catheter, my balloon is inflated. I would go ahead and pull back some until I meet some resistance, which I have. Place that down. At this point, I would want to go ahead and attach my clamp to Mrs. Miranda's inner thigh. So I would take the clamp that's usually located around here, attach that, stick that to the inside of Mrs. Miranda's inner thigh. I would take my bag, my Foley catheter itself, out of the bag. At this point, there's no. I can go ahead and start touching things. The sterile portion is already in. Take my bag, and hang it on the frame of the bed itself, not on the railing, and hang it up here. Okay. If I need to, I also have this additional extra clamp to which I can attach to sheets, uh, just as a means of an attachment here. I, just so that it can help hold it in place. But I also wanted to point out that I want to have enough slack within the tubing so if Mrs. Miranda was to roll around or move, the catheter itself will not come undone or will not have tension on it if she were to move around. So this is ideal for that as well. Okay. So at this point, I would go ahead and start cleaning up. Like I said, I hung my bag. I want to have it below the bladder at all times so that the urine is seeping out and into the bag. I don't want to hang it on the railing because at times the railings come up and then the bag is above the bladder because the railing is up. So I want to hang it uh, at the frame of the bed, ideally and typically at the feet portion of the bed, but on the frame itself. Okay, and then at this point, like I said, start cleaning up, start removing my sterile field here. I'd clean Mrs. Miranda. If there's any extra lube, go ahead and discard that in my trash bag. Start cleaning this up. Take off my gloves. I'm checking on Mrs. Miranda as well simultaneously. Mrs. Miranda, are you okay? Place that in my trash bag. Go ahead and place this in the garbage can. Mrs. Miranda, are you okay? Perfect. Can I get you into a position of comfort? Okay, let's cover you up. Alrighty. Is there anything that I can do to help you get comfortable or help you feel comfortable? Perfect. I have the call light within reach. At this point, I would go ahead and excuse myself from the room. After I've ensured Mrs. Miranda is comfortable in the position she's in, I would go ahead and exit the room, document my findings, let the doctor know, and proceed from there. Alrighty, this is end scene. Thank you.